Mr. Vice Chairman. We're on. Okay, good evening and welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting of July 10th, 2023. We're meeting and on live and via Zoom at the Gala Meeting Room in Foxborough. We're also on Foxborough Cable Television on channel 22 or 38. For Zoom, you can log into foxborough.mass.gov/departments/conservation and click on public remote participation. I think that cover. Oh, what's that? Oh, yes, we are being recorded. Thank you, Dinah. I think that's all of the technical things. With that, I'll open the meeting. Do we have any public comments at this time? Jim, can I ask you to do the questionnaire, and I will observe. Do we have any minutes you want to do, David, before we get 7:05?
Yes. We have two sets of minutes. One was dated May 22nd, 2023. In attendance was Bob, myself, Peter, Rich, and Rebecca. Basically, the minutes it was reorganization and a request for determination 164 East Street, 33 Granite Street, another request for determination, and Lakeview Terrace, 2 Lakeview Terrace, a request for determination, and they're all negative determinations. And then we went over what the Foxboro Country Club wanted to do relative to the irrigation pond, and there was also a review of the proposed fishing derby that did not occur, and it was summarized as to our position. And then under 31 Walnut Street, there was one little sentence, part of a sentence that I think had the wrong word in it. That's on page 4, 31 Water Street. The first paragraph, the applicant, Stephen Jerry's representative. Fourth sentence down, it says the revised footprint has shrunk in width but is somewhat wider. I think that should have been shrunk in length instead of width.
I agree.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Other than that, everything else I felt was all fine. The only other issue was the hazardous tree policy, that there wasn't any decision made concerning a request about the removal of trees, but I feel the minutes should be accepted with that one change.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Got a couple minutes more?
We have the minutes of June 5th, 2023, and present was Bob, Jim, myself, Peter, Rich, and Rebecca. Basically, that meeting day, we went to executive session relative to past minutes, and we did 20 Goodwin Drive, which was a new notice of intent, and we finalized 33 Walnut Street, the Foxboro Country Club, and issued an order of conditions. And I didn't see any issues. Very accurate. I say we should approve them.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, thank you. It's been 7:05. Do we have anybody for Hill Street?
No, you don't, because she is away on vacation. She offered to come and Zoom into this, and I said, don't worry about it. It's kind of it's not a big, it's kind of a no-brainer, yeah. She's proposing to put an addition on a place that's currently a driveway and lawn.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Okay. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267. The Conservation Commission will open a public meeting on Monday, July 10th, 2023, at 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, or via Zoom on a request for determination of applicability filed by Ryan and Tracy Slater for a 20 by 24 edition extending to the right side of the house at 16 Hill Street, Assessor's Map 020, Parcel 424, within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. The application is available for public inspection at the Conservation Office. I agree. I was up there Sunday, did a little walk around. There was nobody home, but knocked on the door, looked around, and I'm not sure. Do you know if they're putting in a new septic system or?
No, that's the old, I believe that was there.
Existing
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I spoke to her, and she felt badly that she didn't submit it in time, but it's really it's more to cover herself than anything else, because they're pretty close to that 25-foot no disturb. Well, they're right up to it on their yard, but it's done. So this is just an area that's currently altered.
Yeah. Okay, I have no problem with it. It's going away from the wetlands, and I haven't seen Ralph's name in a long time on these plans, so. Did anybody else get up there?
I'm familiar with the property from the previous owners, so I know the layout there.
Oh, cool.
It's already like used, disturbed space where they're
Exactly.
putting it.
Yes.
And it's on the side away from the,
Exactly, that's true. That's the more important part.
Yeah. Anybody else? Nope. Do you have any questions from the audience? Comments? If not, somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion for negative determination for 16 Hill Street.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Closing up to 7:10. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, Conservation Commission will open a public hearing on Monday, July 10th, 2023, at 7:10 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, via Zoom, on a notice of intent filed by John Sloan for an upgrade of a residential septic system at 4 McCaslin Way, Assessor's Map 017, Parcel 036. Portions of the proposed work lie within 100 feet of a resource area. The application is available for public inspection at the Conservation Office. Do we have anyone representing?
Yes,
Okay.
Dave Clinard.
All right, thank you.
So I'm here for a septic repair. This is for 4 McAllislin Way. And
Just
if
for
I
the
could share
record,
the screen, I have the
yourself?
plan up on the computer.
Excuse me, for the record, could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, David Clenert, that's Klenert from Cullen Civil Engineering Group.
Thank you.
And could you let me know if you see the plan?
It's coming in. Very good. Yep.
Is that clear to everybody?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so the wetland line was delineated by Brooke Monroe. She did that on May 17th, 2023. And we have wetlands, here's the north arrow, we have wetlands to the east or northeast. We have wetlands to the southeast. This is the Neponset Reservoir area. We have isolated wetlands up to the north side of the property, and we have wetlands across the street to the west. The existing house lies close to the center of the lot, and just some of these color designations. The blue is the ponding area. The dash blue here is a stream flow, which flows from this wetland to the west across the street, under the street, through a stream flow, and then out to the wetlands to the southwest of the property here. So we've delineated several groups. The black dashed line here, you can see it just barely. That's the 25 no touch, and that surrounds all the wetland areas. You can see it over here. The gold or orange is the 50-foot. The magenta is the 100-foot. And the septic system is going to go behind the house. The reason why we chose the back of the house, it will be outside the 50, but we will be grading to within, we'll be putting a silt fence within 37 feet of the wetlands for a workaround area. The reason we put it in the back of the house is we found some really great material back here. We dug a hole up here outside the 50. This was very unsuitable material. It's close to the existing pit, which is right here, which has failed in unsuitable material. So this was the most desirable material for a septic system for the 4-bedroom house designing. There will be a silt fence. It's going to be, it starts at the corner of the back of the house, and it goes around the limit of work in this red dashed area, and it goes all the way out to McAllis Land Way. The access for this site will be up here in this area around the house. What we're proposing is between the 50 and the 100, outside the 50 mostly, just a little grading, and we're outside the 50. We're proposing a septic tank. This is all gravity fed to a D-box to a leaching field. We did not put it in the front of the house here. We had some room here, but this area is a geothermal system. This is the limit of the geothermal system. So we couldn't put it up in this area. That was our first choice. And then, of course, we have the water and the gas here, and we have the driveway and a steep slope over here. So we did find some great material here, and we are going to be placing it there. This will be. This won't be a mounted system up front, but it does have a slope in the back. The back of the system is going to be about 2.5 feet above grade, and then it will slope out. We are proposing a liner that starts at the front of the system, and it goes around the sloped area all the way to the front again towards the house. This will be an impermeable liner. The street, we have notes to sweep the street every single day. And we are proposing silt sacks in all the catch basins. There's 2 catch basins here near where we're going to be entering, and there's 2 catch basins over by the driveway here and here, and they will all have silt sacks in them until construction is done and the ground is stabilized. This is not in a wildlife habitat area. There are no vernal pools, and it's not in a ACEC, and it's not in a flood zone. It's flood zone X. This has been reviewed by the Board of Health and approved based on comments that they had made. We are considering this little stream area to be an intermittent stream with a 100-foot, this is the light blue line, riverfront area, and a 200-foot riverfront area. The system will be mostly outside that 100-foot from this little stream area, riverfront area. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them, and I think that's about it.
I'll start off. I was out there Sunday. I knocked on the door. I did not get anybody, so I did do a little walk around. It was quite a steep slope in the back, and I also disturbed the flock of Canada geese that were in the backyard. But other than that, I think that's probably the best option for the repair, from my observation anyway. Did anybody else happen to get out?
No.
Jane, you want to chime in with any?
I drove by it, and I did aerial photo snoop work, and I've got a few comments. I think that the wetlands across the street are potential vernal pools on the Mass GIS, as is the one that is on the property, but this is being proposed in an area that is currently lawn, so it's probably the best place to put it anyway. But also, we don't have a 50-foot no activity zone. We have a 25-foot no activity zone. The stream, you called it intermittent, which I agree with, but you put 200-foot riverfront area on there. So an intermittent stream does not have a 200-foot riverfront area. Do you know what the floodplain level is in this lot? I know that you downloaded the FEMA.
Yeah, they have it zone A, so there's no established flood zone. AE would be an established flood zone.
Okay.
But on the USGS maps, they have it as a zone A.
Okay. Also, you did not file this under the bylaw as well as the state law. You didn't use the online form that we supply. I didn't notice that until a little while, just too recently to let you know. There's an awful lot going on this plan, and you may want to take off the 200-foot riverfront if you want the delineation to be approved in an order of conditions, and revise your filing a little bit, or just say it's under the Foxborough bylaw as well. Our forms include that information. So, a few things.
Right.
But I think that it's a good spot for it. If you look at the aerial photos, it's the only cleared area, and, well, it's one of the only cleared areas.
Okay, all right, we'll have to continue it till he gets the proper forms. Is that the?
Yeah, he really should. We
So
should
DEP
continue.
filing number, right? at this
It's a
point
DEP
anyways.
filing number, yes.
There is one?
Oh,
Yeah.
wait a second, is there? I think
Yes, there is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a DEP file
So
number.
does he need to, he just needs to, does he need to amend that with DEP? So there, I mean, the number is, well, no. Because it was issued.
It
strictly
sounds
for
like
the
Just
project
removing
under
the
Wetlands
200-foot
Protection Act.
riverfront and
So-
and filing under the
Because we have our own.
internet.
Filing numbers. Yeah, so you would essentially need to just file under the town bylaw.
Well, I think if you were to say just, you meant to file it under the town bylaw, because we modify the state's form.
Okay.
And our main modification is just including the Foxborough bylaw reference at the top of the page.
Did you take a fee for the town bylaw?
He did not submit a fee for it.
All right, so if-
But also, the fee that he submitted, I think, included riverfront 50% additional amount. And
Which you don't think is
Yep.
necessary here? 'cause-
It is not necessary, absolutely. Well, I didn't actually do stream stats or anything like that, but to me, the watershed wasn't large enough to
Okay.
make it a perennial stream. Let's see.
So it sounds like the project would be permitted, however, just some administrative issues that need to be resolved.
Yeah, the town bylaw fee, is that just a note that we can add to the plan, submitted under the town bylaw fee or the town bylaw?
You
Sorry.
submitted the state's portion of the town's fee, you submitted the town's portion of the state's fee to the commission, but you also included a $55 riverfront area fee, which was not necessary, although our bylaw fee, I can't think of what it is off the top of my head, but there's a little, like I said, I just noticed all of these things.
There's not an issue with
It's
notice,
not
right?
really, no, it's not really an issue.
Okay.
They wanted, see, I was going back and forth with George, and I have the information here. And he was asking about it, and I told him, we put the mass mappers aerial with approximate wetland, potential vernal pool boundaries. Town has a 100-foot vernal pool no activity zone that should be included on the plan. It's not really necessary, in my opinion, though. No riverfront areas on the site, but the 100-foot buffer zone and 25-foot no activity zone should be added to the plan. So he wrote back saying there's a large geothermal, and I think I was on vacation because Diana responded to him, and he wanted to know if, he said that we could file an NOI to be on the safe side. But he basically asked about the deadlines, and Diana sent him the deadlines, but I guess he did not get the form that's online. Because we do ask people to do that.
Is that a form that we could file with a few little revisions to the plan, if it's approved? We could easily take off the riverfront areas, and file that form.
Well, you could, it could be continued to the next meeting, and I can have an order of conditions ready for you at that time.
Okay, yeah, that's feasible. Yep.
We often don't ask for notices of intent for septic systems, but this is such a complicated site that I do think it's appropriate, although if you go on to the commission's website, we have this applications to use page, and you'll see there's probably not a whole lot of differences except for its Foxborough bylaw and, of course, the fee.
So application to use and the fee.
Excuse me?
So it's the application we have to fill out, and then we have to find out what the town bylaw fee is.
Yes. Like I said, I would have no problem with handwriting the Foxborough bylaw at the top of it rather than resubmitting the whole darn thing. But your fees are inaccurate, as are your delineations for riverfront and 50-foot no disturb. We have 25-foot no disturb.
Yeah, we do show the 25-foot, but I don't think we show it as a no disturb. We just show it as a.
You had a lot of buffer, you had a lot of buffer zones in there, and I had to
We have a
color, I had to
25-foot
recolor the
buffer,
plan.
no activity line. Yep,
Well,
yeah.
that is under our bylaw, but
yep.
I think
So
that
that's
the
shown on the
plan
plan.
is-
Yep. So that is shown on the plan.
if we could just take a couple of those CAD lines off maybe and then give us
Yeah.
figure out what the bylaw fee would be. I'm surprised the DEP didn't say this isn't a riverfront area. But I think it's probably going to all work out in the wash pretty much, but we just need to our attention to administrative details has to be complete.
Sure.
So if the applicant wants to continue to the next meeting to make these administrative changes,
Yes.
I'd make a motion.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And the next meeting will be at the 24th. What, Diana, do we have put him on a time slot yet, or? Yeah, we do have a new one for Perry Drive. What's that? Oh, okay. Okay, that's August. All right. So 7:05.
It'll just be 2 seconds worth, I would think, if he submits what he needs to submit.
Yeah, okay.
It'll just be,
All right.
close the hearing, review and accept, and sign the order of conditions.
All right.
So that's to July 24th.
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I like your marker there. It's a little bit easier to follow than the traditional hand.
Oh,
It's
thank
easier to follow where you're going, so Thank you for
All
that.
right. Have a nice night. Thank you.
It being 7:15. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, Conservation Commission will open a public hearing on Monday, July 10th, 2023, at 7:15 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, and via Zoom on a notice of intent filed by Chris Gallagher, Foxborough DPW, for a new turning lanes, traffic signals, and crosswalks at the Commercial Street intersection with Walnut Street. Portions of the proposed work lie within 100 feet of a resource area. Mr. Gallagher,
Hello there.
what are we doing?
Good, how are you? So I'm Chris Gallagher, I'm the Director of Public Works. I have with me Peter Ellison, who is the Director of Strategic Land Planning for TEC. TEC is the engineering firm that we have been working with for 2 to 3 years now on this project at the intersection of Walnut Street and Route 140. We have been working towards a signal design for that intersection. We have finally moved through DOT's process and have them agreed that where we are is where we're going to be. So every time we submitted something, they had a change for us, and we finally got them to say, all right, enough's enough. So we're here before you tonight. I'm going to let Peter kind of take over the technical side of things, but to walk through the plan itself and some of the reasons why we're before you tonight.
Thanks, Chris. So yeah, like Chris said, the main purpose of this project is really a transportation safety improvement project. We're going to construct a new traffic signal at the intersection of Walnut and Commercial Street. If the commission has been out to that intersection, you know Commercial Street's pretty high speed over there. If you're trying to turn left onto Commercial, either direction, it's pretty tough to make that movement. You're crossing 4 lanes with high-speed traffic, so that's really the main purpose of the project. As far as why we're in front of your commission tonight, there are 5 resource areas that are within 25 feet of the existing roadway. Those were delineated by Rimmer Environmental Consulting. Mary Rimmer is based out of Newburyport, Massachusetts. So she came down, she flagged and identified 5 different BVWs that are in proximity to the roadway. Now, as far as total impacts created by this project, the only direct impacts are temporary, and that there's 18 square feet of temporary impacts that will be the result of constructing a retaining wall right at the edge of the existing B series BVW wetland. So, in addition to those 18 square feet of temporary impacts that will be, restored post-construction of the wall, we are within the local 25-foot no disturb zone for all 5 of those resource areas that I mentioned. The reason that we cannot, it's unavoidable to stay outside the 25-foot is because in all 5 cases, the existing roadway is actually within 25 feet. So any work we do on this road or on this intersection is going to result in being within that 25-foot buffer. So what we've done is everything we possibly can to kind of avoid, minimize, and then mitigate those impacts. The spot on the B series wetland where we do have the 18 square feet, we're avoiding as best we can by constructing, a retaining wall straight up from the edge of the wetland so that there will be no permanent impacts. And then, from there, we're going to provide the mitigation by just restoring that wetland in place post-construction. As far as stormwater impacts, we are increasing impervious area out here by approximately 30,000 square feet. There's 3 or 4 design points that we looked at as part of the system. Only one of those design points, which is actually Hersey Pond, will see an increase of stormwater runoff. Now that is allowable under the Wetlands Protection Act for this type of project because it is transportation improvement and a safety improvement project where we're constructing these intersection improvements and creating a new sidewalk along the side of the road for pedestrians and bicyclists.
Will that water be pre-treated before it gets into the pond?
Yeah, I was going to say, the one good thing is that all the new infrastructure that we'll put in will be, deep sump and hooded catch basins. So the quality of the runoff that enters Hersey Pond eventually will be cleaner than it is today.
Okay, good.
Yep,
Good plus.
indeed. Other than that, this was filed with Mass DEP. I think their only comment was, as long as we stay under 5,000 square feet of impacts, this won't require a water quality certification, which we're well under. Obviously, we only have 18. And other than that, I'm happy to turn it over to the commission and answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, comments?
Why look at me?
When's it all gonna happen?
This is the last step. Like I said, we had DOT finally agree that the design was enough, so our intention is to get it out to bid this summer.
Okay.
So that the contractor can start buying all the material. The signal material is probably gonna be a long lead time item.
Okay.
So, the intention is that by sometime in 2024, it'll be well underway, if not, completed 24, 25.
Okay.
And there is, along with the signal and intersection work, we are running sewer through that intersection as well, for the existing Walnut Terrace property, as well as getting to that new Foxborough Housing Authority project on the other side of Walnut Street. So there is sewer associated with this as well.
Okay.
Good.
So are you doing both projects at the same time?
They're being bid out at the same time, so there'll be one GC that will oversee the entirety of the project. So we will put the sewer, the timing of infrastructure work will be determined based on the contractor, but, this whole project will end up with a mill and pave through that intersection. So all that utility work will be done prior to that. So
Because the sewer line was mainly in the road. I don't think it went on the side of the road.
no, I think it was,
In the pavement.
yeah.
But you had to alter some of the drainage on the Walnut Street side where the complex is. Is that going to be done at the same time you're putting in the sewer line? In other words, you get disturbance of soils in that drainage area that could easily come down.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I would say that's probably more of a means and methods type question for the contractor themselves. But generally, the order of things would be sewer first, and then shortly after that would be the drainage. Yeah.
In looking at the plans, everything is within the state highway layout?
Yes.
Only because you have the Article 97 lands on both sides of the 140 here, which are protected. And if you go into disturbing those areas, you need legislative approval.
Oh, as far as easements and staying within the right of way, yes, we're
Staying within the right
okay
of way.
there.
So,
Yes.
did you have to file MEPA? Because the state
Not
had
for the
to make a
roadway.
decision?
Not for the roadway improvements, no.
It's a limited project. I don't know if that precludes MEPA or not. I'm not up
I
on
don't
that.
think it would
The state
preclude
agency has
MEPA.
to make a decision and issue a permit.
Well, it's state monies, right?
No, it's.
No?
Yeah, this is a pretty big piggy bank we're pulling from. It's got all sorts of money floating around through this thing. There's some MassWorks funding for it. There's some ARPA money for it. There's some state ARPA money for it. There's some earmark money for it. There's a lot of different pots of money going into this construction project.
Okay.
Once DOT got a hold of it, it just started changing like it typically does with when they start reviewing projects within their own layout. They see somebody else's funding it and they're going to push the limits on it. So we went from what was a $4 million project, sewer and intersection, and some of this is timing too, but we're trying to find $7 million at this point. So we've increased by almost 100% from where we were 3 years ago when we first got MassWorks approval.
Okay.
So I started to try and figure it out, but MassDOT at the request of the farm stand people and my saying that sounds like a great idea, did divert some of the stormwater. And there is a plan for it. That was incorporated. I started to look at it, except I'm not an engineer, so I couldn't tell if it had been incorporated or not.
Yep.
Did that come across your radar, I hope?
Yep, that's all incorporated into this plan.
Excellent, good. I figured it must be.
Chris, I'm looking at this, and I see there's really skinny lines in here in terms of proposed sidewalk. So it looks like we're putting in an intersection so that people can walk,
I know.
get across it. Are we extending the sidewalk going toward center of town on Commercial Street? Is that, like, so I see it on here, proposed proposed 5-foot HMA sidewalk going,
That was, so yes, we do have some sidewalk
how
being
far is that going? Is that
extended
going to the
down.
pond and stopping, or is that going all the way up to the plaza? How, like, where is
No,
that?
I think we've got about 1,000 feet.
Yeah, so it doesn't get all the way across Hersey Pond. It gets to our limit of work, actually, is where we stop it. And then at that point, I think DOT was really the one pushing to get the sidewalk installed, included with this project, because I think they will look eventually to extend it to that commercial plaza up the street.
It became a funding issue.
Well, and that,
Okay.
but even putting in sidewalk, that you guys are still able to stay within the
Yeah.
bounds of, okay, great.
Just so long as the water quality going in, the stormwater is better. You know, we look for net environmental benefit.
Yep.
And that's a very sad-looking pond.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the outlets out there today. It's just all sheet flow over land, right off the pavement, straight into the pond, so,
Love it, just love it. Yeah, we just want an improvement, that would be great.
yep.
And the rest of the wetlands, I'm sure, are not pristine because they are right next to the roadway and probably caused by the roadway in many ways.
Yeah, but the pond lilies keep the milfoil down. They have their own, they produce an herbicide that nothing grows around them. So that helps the pond. The only thing I would recommend is make sure you don't have to file an E&F with NEPA because the state agency has to make a decision.
Sure.
Speaking of DEP, do we have a file number? We do,
Yes,
and that being
157-0627.
627. Okay, thank you very much.
So you don't think these plans will change? I mean, you guys are.
No, we're done.
That's
it. They're going out to
I don't want to see it again.
They're going out to bid. That's it.
All right.
So we're using mostly silk socks?
Yes, sir, and coupled with silt fence as well, where the side slopes of Commercial Street exceed 3 to 1. It'll be a dual silt fence.
So
silt
does that
sock.
fence go on the inside or the outside?
Outside,
Outside?
yeah.
Any questions from the audience?
Should be interesting when we
Comments?
put the fire station in.
Anything else, Jane? You all set?
no, I've put together an order that has an attachment A that talks about, you know, steps that you need to do before you start, and this and that and the other thing, and the bit about limit of work being the erosion controls and that kind of stuff. So it's all boilerplate things.
Being the extent of this, we definitely need to have pre-site meetings
Yes, that's
with a
part of it.
combined project here. I doubt the terrace project is going to start up within a year, is it?
I mean, I know they're antsy.
Right.
They're ready for this to go out to bid so that they have a timeline and they can start moving on their project. So I'm not sure exactly their time frame, but they're ready as much as they can be at this point.
Yeah, I have that as far as the attachment A, the pre-construction, you need to do this, and this. I know they did one of the thises, so the rest is just, you know, try not to be too redundant. But part of it is having a pre-construction meeting.
Anything else?
Might recommend that we have somebody from the commission be part of these meetings that's available with Jane.
That'd be just fine and dandy with me.
Well, I think that's an internal thing we can discuss
Yeah.
when we get closer to the
Construction.
pre-construction meetings, so we can do that. Other than that,
Make a motion, close the hearing.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty. And you say you have
I do.
something for us to sign?
I do.
All righty.
Can I ask you a quick question? You said it really quickly, and I didn't get to write it down. You said you were increasing the impervious area by
30,000
30,000 feet?
square feet.
30,000 square feet.
Yep.
Thanks.
Most of that is the sidewalk, isn't it?
A lot of that is the sidewalk, yep. So 5-foot sidewalk at 1,000 feet, that'd be 5,000 of that 30. And the rest of it is just in the intersection itself. Yeah.
Bob, I think it must be in the file. Do you have it, Diana?
What's that?
The order of conditions to sign? Oh, you got to close it and say all that sort of stuff first. Did you close it? I didn't get that.
Yes, we've closed it.
All right, I was only partially listening. I was writing a note.
Okay, all right. So do you want to, somebody want to make a motion to sign an order of conditions?
Make a motion to sign order conditions for DEP 1570627.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? All righty.
I could go
Thank you.
over all the attachments and everything if you wanted, but I don't think you care. I don't think you want it, I should say. I know you care, but it's all boilerplate stuff that I always put in.
All right, thank you all, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be right back.
Do we do interviews during the general meeting?
What about it?
Do we do interviews during the general meeting?
I think we do. It seems strange,
Okay.
but
I don't remember, so.
there are two that aren't here.
The only reason why I brought that up was some commissions, we have sometimes liaisons, besides some. Oh, yeah. It's just, sometimes the small projects don't need it, but sometimes these more complicated ones over a period of time. That's why things
We could have continued without me.
Don't want you to miss out. Don't want you to miss out. Yeah, it's always a good idea, especially on a large project. So what happened to state funding? Why, yeah, why is that? Maybe we got
I already signed it.
Oh, you did, okay, okay.
Get the water quality permit too.
It's not our problem.
We got the NRRC's extension, 157479.
Yes, re-endorse it.
Give us an update on that, Jane.
It's just an administrative thing. I don't remember the story, if the form wasn't final, or I think you reviewed it and approved the extension, and they were a little bit late in asking for the extension, but then we had COVID, so there was basically a year-plus extension to their order to start with. And when I looked back at the paper trail, there was the original, there was a First Amendment, and there was a Second Amendment. And then we had the COVID extension, and then we had, the different owner and different book and page that it should have been referenced against and such. So cleaned it all up.
Okay.
Rick Lewis said thanks,
All right.
and go from there.
So you endorse,
Yes.
okay. Do we have it?
I think it was just
Do we
passed.
need to make any motion or anything like that? or
Yes,
just-
we need a motion for that, yes.
Make a motion to re-endorse NRRC's order of conditions extension, DEP 157479.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right, West Street?
West Street, that was sent by an email and it went off of my brain, and I think that I did not print out the form, so that's my bad. We can do it next time.
Okay.
There's been a lot going on around here lately.
Yeah.
Been a busy place.
Tanya? Want to come on up? Before we get started, we had 3 people apply. Unfortunately,
And
2
pass
of
it
them
on.
cannot make it tonight. And I will give you an option. We can have the interview, we can just discuss everything with you tonight. But to keep everybody on a level playing field, this is being televised. The other people will have a chance to,
I'm good with that.
okay,
I'd
all
like
right.
to get it.
I'm just trying to keep it level.
No, thank you, I appreciate that.
Bob, I wonder about that, and I gave her a little bit of a level playing field because we have 4 main questions that we ask people, so she got a chance to see them, so that leveled the field a bit.
Okay. So, Vice Chairman,
Nice to meet you. So obviously, we're not the ones to appoint you as a commission member, but we provide a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. We do have a set of interview questions that we typically ask when someone's interested in becoming a commission member. So we can go through those. It sounds like you've had a chance to
Level the playing field.
level the playing field, see these interview questions already. So why are you interested in becoming a Conservation Commission member?
after you've sat through one of our meetings.
It looks so exciting. No.
You're supposed to ask her first if you still want to be one.
Yeah, you still on it?
We can answer that later. Actually, I mean, given my education and my experience for the past 31 years, I've been interested in or involved in either via schooling or just extracurricular activities, conservation in one way or another, whether it was, I was a docent at a wetlands in Southern California years ago. That was probably the beginning of it. I started taking ecology classes from then on, and I've concentrated in land use and real estate law in law school. And my internship was for Attorney Gellerman for the town of Foxborough. I helped.
Remember him well.
Yes, I wrote a few motions for him. Sadly, I looked at your agenda to prepare for tonight to see what exactly it was that you guys, did every week and some of the things that you were looking at. And I see that the Neponset Reservoir is still on there, and I feel like it was 20-something years ago that I was helping him write motions, back when it was the Foxborough Company, to try and get the place cleaned up. And so I feel like when the opportunity presented myself and I thought about, like, this is really a point in my life where I could actually be involved in my town the way that my grandmother, who came here in 1932, always wanted me to, So, think globally, act locally. That's what I always tell my kid.
Thank you.
So I think some of your answer actually applies to this question, but why do you think you would be the most qualified candidate?
I honestly can't say that. Like, I don't know the other candidates, so one of them might be way more qualified than I am. But I feel like again, my education and my experience, I'm well-rounded. It sounds like you guys talk a lot about wetlands. It's like the majority of your business. I have a lot of experience there. I've, done a variety of things from negotiating easements with, for telecom companies and looking at plot plans. And there was a time when I could actually read the meets and bounds and chart out a little map for you. I don't think I could do that anymore, but, so I think that's some of the main reasons why I'd be a very qualified candidate. Maybe not the most, but.
I always ask when I'm deposing someone, what have you done to prepare for this deposition? But in your case, what have you done to prepare for this interview?
I looked to see what you guys actually do, because I think I had a whole different vision of what being on the Conservation Commission was. Looked back at a lot of agendas, and then I looked at my own little file of what I've done to try and refresh my recollection to, see why I was qualified and why I felt I could come here tonight and present myself.
The way we communicate as a commission, we rely heavily on communicating through emails. Are you savvy, and do you check your emails?
Unfortunately, all day long. I actually have 3 of them that I have to check, so, yeah. That's
Good to know.
That's an all-day affair.
Yeah.
One other question. Do you have time to take some courses at the MACC? MACC offers courses periodically for the members, say wetlands delineation, amongst other things. Would you be able to go do that?
Yes, obviously depending on, like, are they like week-long or like, weekend-long type events, or are they usually just?
A lot are even Zoom these days.
Yeah, most
And
of them are Zoom.
Oh,
which I found a little bit
I
disappointing.
think-
It's like harder for me to engage in
Right.
them,
Yeah.
but it does make it
I
easier.
hate,
Like my work webinars, yeah. Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
an important piece of this is there's a lot to learn. You don't go to
Yeah,
school for being a conservation
No.
commissioner, because there's a little bit of everything, which is nice because I get bored easy. But one person that I encouraged to come to my town's conservation commission was I call her a brainiac, and I said, now, Anne Marie, you're going to feel stupid for about a year. She's like, she
No, I
came to
felt-
me after a few
I
months,
felt
and she
stupid
said,
for the last,
after a
like,
few
just
months,
listening.
she
Yeah.
said, I'm really glad you said that,
Yeah.
Jane.
No,
Because there's a lot
just
to
from
learn.
what you guys did tonight, I can see that there's a lot to learn, and that
Yes.
clearly there's got to be a
The
curve.
first year, I was like a deer running into the headlights, quite frankly. That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit better now.
I don't
That's
know
why
if you
I'm the quiet
remember,
one
you
over
gave me
here.
a scholarship back years ago from the Rotary Club. I believe it was whether I was starting law school or UMass Boston, one or the other.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
Okay.
cool.
It was, so.
Full circle,
We've
full
come full circle, right?
Yes.
Another one of your qualifications is you grew up here, and you know the
did.
town,
I
right?
did, yeah. My grandmother came here in 29 or 30, and built the home that we're still in.
Wow.
Anything else? Any other questions, comments from the board?
Just more on a personal interest, do you have like a particular sort of environmental cause that you hold close to your heart? I'm like,
When
into
I.
natural wildlife, that's always my thing. but-
That's, it's everything. Like I was a conservationist before I even think I knew what one was. But the wetlands was probably my beginning when I went to school in Southern California, and my professor and mentor was Peter Green, who was actually the mayor of Huntington Beach, and he got me into this ecology class, and that was like, there was hope back then, and I started doing the docent work at Bolsa Chica Wetlands, which is one of the last, there's only like 10% of their wetlands left on the west coast, so that was one of the few. So I would give tours there on the weekends when the people would come through, and so I think that was the beginning of it, like wetlands, and I grew up going up to Old Orchard Beach and the Saco River and all that, and so I knew I loved it, but I didn't understand what I loved about it. And then there was a period where I worked for, after UMass, I did an internship for the Trust for Public Land, which I did a lot of the grant writing then, and that was great because I was involved in Walden Pond and preserving that. And after that, I worked for the New England Aquarium, which was probably one of the best jobs. And it was just the ocean conservation and the coastal conservation. And like, I really got involved in like, so I feel like I've touched so many sides of it. And I mean, I've hiked these woods. We are so lucky just in Foxborough to have so much conservation land that we have. But like I always say, we're not, it's the one thing you're not making any more of. We're not making any more land. So we have to do what we can.
Thank you.
That all sounds great. You got a taste of what we did for tonight. A lot of what we do, and exactly what you're building, what you just said, there's not a lot of buildable property left in Foxborough.
Nope.
So a lot of what comes before us are, can we put a house here or can we extend there? And we kind of walk a fine line. So that's what a lot of this ends up becoming about. So it sounds like you're
Yeah, that's what your agenda looked like.
Yeah, it sounds like you're interested
Back quite a bit.
in real estate. That certainly will come in handy. And we do get to walk around in places that, like I've noticed, I've been doing this 4 years now or 5 years. I forget when you wrote me into this, but we get to go to a lot of places where there's a lot of poison ivy and briars and, places that some people might say, what do you want to go in there for? But it's kind of cool, but you got to work to get in there. So if that's something that you look forward to, then that's something that's also
I can handle
part of what we
briars.
get to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And
Thank you.
we will analyze everything at our next
Excellent.
meeting.
Good luck.
24th.
Have a good one.
Okay, thank you.
Say this just because this is the kind of garbage I pass out to people just before.
I look forward to reading it.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Anything else?
No, so our other two candidates, one of them is sick, and another one had an emergency, so she was sad she couldn't come. So next,
We'll give them till
next time.
Next
meeting.
meeting
Yeah.
and make our decision at that time.
Yeah. Hope you took notes, so you can remember.
Okay. Very good. Other than that, somebody will make a motion?
Think.
What?
Jane brought up about what's going on at the Cohasset River Park, where they provided compensation for some of the wetland areas, West Street, that they had to utilize. And then they've used now the park as storage area for equipment by the contractor and storage of materials relative to building all these different aspects of the dam and the pipes and everything. And also storage of different soil components and stone and that, which Jane in her report brought up wasn't part of the original decision. And it's also within certain areas of the river. And it basically, no one came to ask for permission to utilize it. They let the contractor use our area that wasn't supposed to be used for that, except for digging it out and replacing.
Do you want money? You want them to send us some?
No, I'm saying, she brought it up.
Some
If you go
compensation.
down there, it's definitely, being used without the commission even debating about it or discussing it.
Jane, I know you talked to Chris about that. Did you get any feedback one way or the other?
No, I didn't really talk to him about it that much. I talked to him and asked him to, I said, that wasn't discussed as a staging area, it's kind of tough, and can you please at least put all of your equipment on the other side, away from the riverfront area, because it was right in the riverfront area, as well as a rare species habitat. And I said, and put up silt fences around the edge. And he said he would. And then on a day that I was there on a mission for something else had to do with the wild critters in the area, there were enormous trucks coming and going and dumping really large rocks from their excavations in the road. And I got a little panicked, and I sent a text to Chris and said, please, would you have him stop immediately? And Chris was in a meeting in Boston or something like that, but didn't get back to me. So I then went to Bob Worthley, who got Lance involved, and they did get them to stop. And then Rich came out with me, and he and I spoke to one of the machine operators for Priscilla, a very nice man, and we said, please stop doing this until you put up silt fence, because I didn't want any wildlife to get crushed, when they migrate, because it was right around the time they were migrating. So he said he would, and he did. I also pointed out that the restoration area was a little bit dangerous, because I had asked them to dig down another foot. I was envisioning all this beautiful black mucky dirt, like the adjacent area that has skunk cabbage, but it wasn't like that. It was just sandy sand, and they dug down a little bit farther, I think, and they hit too much water. So now they need to backfill it a tiny bit, I think, because it's kind of a danger at this point. So, yeah, that's been an interesting thing. I did include information about staging that was taken from Weston's boilerplate order, which basically says, staging has to be discussed beforehand. I didn't say, don't do this, don't do that. Just basically, we need to decide where, and that can happen during the pre-construction meeting.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain criteria, I think, that need to be understood. And town land is town land, but conservation land has different kind of protections, I think. I feel for them. They have to stage somewhere, but I don't want it to be on conservation land. Thank you very much.
This is the second time it's happened, though.
What's that?
This is the second time it's happened. The parcel of land down off of Mechanic Street, the field that goes over to that subdivision.
Yep.
They let the contractor store material on the conservation, the hayfield area and everything, and they still haven't removed all of it and brought it back. Bringing loom, brought the, grass seed or who's it, Lawton could have seeded it with his farm equipment, but not rocks and gravel that's left there. And then there was a offhand comment that, well, maybe we could have a little parking lot there, but still, they save money when they use town land. The contractor saves money because he doesn't have to go out and rent space. Mm-hmm. Could rent it from us, but but this is a flagrant, very flagrant.
I think we just need parameters. We need to set the parameters and make it understood, and it was something that we hadn't anticipated. I hadn't.
So like, it's good that we're talking about this, and when we were looking at the turtles the day David and I were there with you, it did strike me like, wow, there's a lot of activity going on over here. But we've got this massive project now that's coming before us, right, that they're putting out to bid at Walnut and Commercial, right? It's going to be a huge amount of material and equipment. And so, I know we talked about a pre-construction meeting. I think that's something we need to be super clear on, or have an idea about, I guess, where we don't want them to go. We tell them where they will go, but like, all right, you need to stay out of these areas, that kind of thing, since Hersey Pond is there, and there's probably some other
Maybe they
sensitive
can use
spots
the
around
Field
state's
is-
the state area as a staging area because there's a lot of materials there already.
Well, those,
They could probably, I don't know if they can utilize part of the cul-de-sac, not cul-de-sac, but the interchange. I think should be able to use that.
Just as long as we're clear about like where we
Yeah.
don't want them to go.
Yeah.
I mean, they can figure out where they can go, but what, like, we don't, like, stay out of here, stay out of there, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Hershey Pond, where the farm stand is, and across the street, the fields, that's owned by the state,
Yeah,
Department of Agricultural Resources. But supposedly under our management.
Yes.
Relative to the hay fields and the use by, the community farm. But technically, it's under the state. They cannot use state land without being licensed, or maybe to the point they have to get legislative approval.
interesting.
Do you know if the town does a license agreement with these contractors? For
I'm sure
use
they-
and access of these
Well,
areas?
it's,
Sure they do. As a matter of fact, when they started the West Street project, they were parking their equipment right next to the river, and I asked them to move it. And guess where they moved it? But I mean, they were right on the road, and if there was any leakage and stuff, would have gone right into the river. But I think that my boilerplate, I don't think that I have given them an attachment A before, because that has information about, no storing equipment within the buffer zone or the resource area, blah, 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 blah. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other thing. And check for leaks and all that stuff. Whether it's done or not is another thing, but at least it's something that backs you up if you say you can't do this here because.
But does that cover an area that may be away from the project, even though it's part of the project? That the order of conditions doesn't cover that off-site sort of staging area. So you may want to.
Well, we didn't think it would. We didn't think it would.
Sort of work in that language.
Yeah.
Whoever sets up the agreement with that contractor and say, hey, look, you got A, B, and C, you got to include that as provisions.
I think,
I don't know. And even
Think so.
use the site plan to show and attaches it.
Well, normally, if
reference
there,
it.
you
Like,
should have it on
This is
site
what you need to do
plan.
and stay within the bounds of this, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send all of you the attachment A that I put together because I used, we share the different towns, conservation, we share our language and such. And Weston had a very comprehensive one, as you can imagine. So I used a lot of the wording that they had in the Weston one, and it talked about staging and equipment maintenance and that whole thing, no washing, or if you wash, you do this, and it's all in that document. I mean, you have an order of conditions for a reason. But I will pass that, I will send you all a digital copy because I'd love your input. I know that it bores you to tears, but really it's something that you guys should all be
the only
Familiar
thing that
with.
we allowed that there was for the restoration.
Yeah.
And bringing the equipment in or whatever has to be done for just the restoration. Nothing else was discussed or asked, nor
Yeah.
was a pre-site meeting. So there's an example about that pre-site meeting of any project, really.
That's
Well, we
Especially
had one.
if
We had one
plans.
for West Street. We did.
Yes.
But they didn't discuss staging that I remember. Maybe it just didn't, if they had said they wanted to stage
They
on
probably didn't
conservation
mention
land.
Stage, and that probably didn't even come up as part of
Right.
the conversation, so.
Right. I saw their truck on somebody's front yard on West Street, and I think they're probably doing a septic system, but I thought, oh, good, they have a place that they're putting their equipment. And it's away from the wetlands and the river. It's-
See, we also have a piece of conservation land on West Street before it becomes the other street, that subdivision.
Oh.
We own that corner piece.
Oh.
And it's flat. It's an old field. It's, really, it's recovering into a scrub type nesting, insect type area besides the poison ivy. But that could have been utilized and maybe restored at the end without disturbing.
That sounds like a
Passive River
win-win.
Park.
That sounds like a win-win. That sounds like a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Or a good thought. You want to make lemonade out of those lemons. I'm sure there's a way that you can
Squeeze.
work things out. I thought getting a restoration area and that the conservation land and a little less parking area would be a good thing, and obviously I was not right necessarily. Sounds like a good idea.
There was some material that was left over a long time ago, some type of construction they did or building the septic system. When you drive into the park and the parking lot opens up onto your right, if you look beyond that, there's two huge piles in there. They go almost right up to the river. They've definitely been sitting there for years. And it also has other type of debris mixed in with it.
I would love to get that area
That
restored.
should be removed as part of, restoring and
yeah.
utilizing this area that has all these type of soils that, every time it rains, just look at the heavy rains.
We'll talk to Chris about it. Okay. All right. Anything else?
He's got a lot on his plate, but
Oh,
you
yes.
guys do too, so, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot to consider. You just want to make sure the environment's going to be better in the end. I mean, like this intersection and such, I've always driven by Hershey Pond and said, oh, you poor thing. So if a little bit of that can be cleansed before it goes in, even if it's more stormwater,
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be
Well,
better.
that's, as you said, that's a win-win for,
That's what you
Yeah.
want, yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Net environmental benefit.
Now, Richard Park can't be that bad because Judy saw a pair of otters or mink.
What's that?
Judy saw either a pair of otters or mink in Hershey Pond. Yeah, she stopped on the side of the road. She couldn't believe it. She took out
It was
binoculars.
an otter, I remember her talking about
Probably
that.
otters, yeah. I didn't remember that. You've got them around for sure, and the rivers, they go up and down. The other morning, we woke up, Saturday, we woke up at 5:30, and Dan looked out the window, and he said, oh, there's an otter out back. And there was an otter, turned out there were three, two babies and a mother. So we got up at 5:30 and watched them for a couple hours. But they do, they travel up and down rivers, and that's why the Rivers Protection Act is so important.
yeah.
I've caught sunfish in there like years ago. I haven't fished that in a gajillion years, but when we first moved here.
Where, Hershey Farm?
Yeah,
Hershey Field?
because I was working the farm stand with the Knights of Columbus once upon a time ago. I'm like,
Were there any fish in there? I know that there's huge
Bluegills.
snapping turtles.
Bluegills.
All right.
You want me to make a motion to close the meeting?
Sure. Why not? Do I hear a second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? None? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Beck.